Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 7th Annual United in Sustainability Summit. My name is Patrick Seiler. I'm the Senior Associate General Counsel at United Nations Federal Credit Union. I'm also the Deputy Program Manager for UNFCU's Global Sustainability Program Industry Team. It's my pleasure to serve once again as the event host for this annual summit. It's a thrill to be back in United Nations headquarters here in New York City, where so many critical decisions on climate action and social justice take place each and every day. We are joined today by a virtual audience of credit unions from around the globe. Wherever you're joining us from today, and these people are all on the cameras. There are cameras in the room, so we can wave hello. Wherever you're joining us from today, welcome. We're happy to have you as part of this important conversation, and we hope to see you here with us in person the next time we're back at UN headquarters. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the United Nations Environment Program for sponsoring our summit today. We draw inspiration from our UN community's dedication and tireless work to tackle climate change and its socioeconomic effects. Special thanks go out to Dr. Ligia Noronha, Assistant Secretary General and Director of the UNEP New York office, as well as the UNEP team for your collaboration to bring our first two-day summit to fruition. For those who are new to the network, UNFCU established United in Sustainability, which we sometimes call UIS, as a platform for credit unions to meet, exchange ideas, tell their stories, and share best practices on sustainability. Now, whether you're from a small credit union just starting its sustainability journey or a large one looking to accelerate it, our summit has important and timely information for you. We'll get insight on the intersection of climate adaptation, digital payments, how to engage your supply chain on diversity, and some case studies on the Green Member Experience and Filene's Racial Economic Equity Incubator. We have a great deal of new research to share, especially from Canadian credit unions, who are well represented today by 7 credit unions, a top Canadian sustainability strategist, and the Canadian Credit Union Association. We'll explore navigating the clean energy transition, introduce reporting frameworks, and unpack DEI programs. As you can see, a very full agenda. I hope you're all ready for a productive and informative 2 days. Right here at the beginning, I'd like to acknowledge that this international organization stands on land formerly cared for by the Lenape Nation. We hope we can honor their tradition of caring for the land in a sustainable and equitable way, not least with the content that we're going to talk about today. The QR code that's on the screen provides a link to the full program, and you can follow right along. Now, it is my great pleasure to open our program by welcoming Yma Gordon. Yma is First Vice President of Global Impact and Inclusion at UNFCU, also the Executive Director of the UNFCU Foundation. Yma is going to lead a conversation with John Lewis, UNFCU's President and CEO, and Pamela Agnone, our Executive Vice President, and they're going to share some insights about starting UNFCU's sustainability journey and what it's looked like as it moves forward. Yma, over to you.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and good day, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. This is just an incredible program that we have ahead of us for the next 2 days, and we're really excited about the amazing dialogue that's going to come out of this. Just being a part of United in Sustainability has meant that we have really learned, and all of the contributions have been generous in terms of the journey that we're all on. So I'm really excited about the next 2 days, and thank you for the introduction, Patrick. So we're in for a treat, this great conversation that we have ahead of us to really launch our United in Sustainability Summit today. The summit actually follows the UN Summit of the Future that happened a couple of weeks ago, and some folks were here for Climate Week. And in a couple of weeks will be the Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, very long name, but also known as COP29 in Azerbaijan in a few weeks. So I say that all to say that it is important information and it is an important topic that we are all focused on, and rightfully so. We know that with rising temperatures and more extreme and intense weather, we've seen climate change rapidly affecting us. So we've seen, unfortunately, hurricanes, severe flooding in some regions, record drought in other regions. So, what we're talking about today is really important. And as credit unions, we clearly put our members first. And we care about the communities that we live and work in. And so we know we're really excited to be able to talk to you not only about UNFCU's work in this area, but about all of the work that's happening across credit unions. And we know that folks joining us agree that it's time to act now, and so that's why this summit is so timely. In the latest Emissions Gap Report 2023, United Nations Environment Program, also known as UNEP, emphasized that the current climate commitments are unfortunately not sufficient and that we are far from the Paris Agreement goal of limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, even preferably 1.5, the tipping point. From our cooperative principles, we know that sustainability is embedded in our organizational DNA. That's true of UNFCU. And from an ESG standpoint, this means accountability. So while we're serving the needs of our members, our employees, our board members, the community, we also serve the environment. So it means, finding a sustainability champion in the C-suite and our leadership is a really important part of that equation. So I'm so happy and honored to say that our leaders are joining us here. They've been incredible champions, if I can just take a moment to say that. One you can't do this work without the kind of buy-in and support that you get, that we get from our executive leaders. So I'm really, really thrilled. So with that, I should just note, as Patrick has mentioned, we're joined by our CEO, John Lewis, and our Executive Vice President, Pam Agnone, who have been true champions and really thought partners on all of the work that we're doing. They both also sit on our UNFCU Foundation board, and Pam also serves as one of the co-sponsors of the Global Sustainability Program. Pam and John, welcome. We know that you've had quite a bit of a tenure at UNFCU, and you've had a significant impact on the decisions that we make, the leadership and the guidance that we have on the sustainability journey. So I thought it would be so wonderful to hear from your perspective and as credit union leaders in terms of how you think about this work, engage in this work, and guide this work. So John, I'll start with you, if that's okay. So we've convened this summit for about 7 years, and we began right here at the headquarters years ago. It's grown into a movement, if we can use that word, which I think is appropriate. Why do you think sustainability is an important topic, and particularly for credit unions and for UNFCU specifically?
Okay, well, thank you for the question. Also, you're thanking us for our support. I mean, none of this happens without you and the team and the volunteers. So many, many thanks to you for that. I also note, I'm looking at the picture. I don't know if you all can see the picture. I actually do have another tie. I promise I have another tie. This is my favorite, but I do have another tie. I promise you that. Now I forgot the question. No, I get it. Let me start with kind of the industry, if you will, and then I'll bring it into UNFC. The UNFCU answer is actually probably pretty simple. From an industry perspective, look, Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene. This is depends what estimate you're looking at. $100 billion in damage, loss of life, change of life, and these can't be ignored. And when I talk about the $100 billion, we're financial institutions, right? This is a summit of mostly credit unions. We're financial institutions. $100 billion means a lot. And these are things we need to pay attention to. I can tell you that UNFCU, I mean, we are a New York-based credit union. 2/3 of our members are outside the United States, not even in the United States. And we have done outreach to over 1,000 members who were in the path of those hurricanes. So that's just us. 1,000 members in the path of the hurricane to do outreach. We probably have, I'm making this number up, I'm sure someone's going to keep me honest on this. We probably have in value maybe $200 million, $300 million of loans in the path of those hurricanes. So that matters. Now, fortunately, we have good risk mitigation. We have all the things and the tools we need. But to pretend as a financial institution that we are, that these things don't matter, it's just putting our head in the sand. It really is for me. I mean, the relevance of this. And I can tell you that change is here, right? It's already here. Whether we want to embrace it, we want to get ahead of it or not, is up to us. I can tell you change is here. If we embrace it and we get ahead of it, we too will change, and we will be there next year, 5 years, 10 years, and 50 years for our members. If we do not change, I can also tell you what will happen if we do not change. So I think, from the credit union perspective, certainly that's one of the reasons. Another is I would talk about differentiation as a credit union. There was Kudlow on Business. Kudlow on Business, right? So Fox Business has a show, Kudlow on Business. Happens to be the most watched business show in the country. Just this week, Rodney Hood, who is the former chair, many of you may know Rodney, former chair of NCUA, appeared on the show. They were mostly talking about cryptocurrency and some election issues. Kudlow said, I'd like to talk about credit unions, but it's boring. Oh, by the way, who even knows what a credit union is anymore? So let's understand, this is not some small fringe niche show. This is the highest watched business show in the country, and the host is saying, who even knows what a credit union is anymore? Okay, we've been differentiating for years on the not-for-profit. We've been differentiating for years on the cooperative model. Those are differentiators for us, and I think we should continue differentiating on that, but I think we need something new. I mean, I'm talking just strictly from business, right? From business aspect, from a competitive nature, we need something new. And from my perspective, that new should be, and must be sustainability. I mean, it's in our DNA. So, and then, just bringing it back to the credit union side, for us, it's really easy. The question is, why sustainability for UNFCU? Because our members care about it. And we are always going to be a mirror and reflection of our members and our membership. Our members care, our staff cares, we here care. So for us, it's easy. So thank you. That's,
Thank you, John. And Pam, I'll turn to you. In the same vein, you've also been really instrumental in this journey from the green team to kind of where we are now gathering at UIS. Also, to you, why do you think this is important for the industry, and to what advice would you give to other credit union leaders as they think about entering this journey or continuing this journey?
Yeah. Thank you, Yma, and welcome to everybody. I'm so excited to be here on the 7th United in Sustainability Summit. And I thought what would be helpful is if I shared a little bit of the backstory for UNFCU and how we got here. Our journey began back in 2008, 2009, when a small group of very passionate employees wanted to ensure that UNFCU was operating in an environmentally conscious way, that we were conserving resources, and that we were starting to become aware of our carbon footprint. I will tell you that our board of directors acted very early, and they moved to codify sustainability in the board's policy governance for the credit union. They wanted to ensure that members had confidence that the credit union was operating in a socially responsible way, in an environmentally friendly way. And those policies cascade to our operating policies in lending and corporate investments. In the years that followed, that green team has morphed into a 108 staff strong global sustainability program that literally operates in all of UNFCU's offices in Africa, in Europe, and in the United States. My advice to credit unions can best be summarized in the saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one small step. Just get started. Getting started for UNFCU back then meant partnering with an expert on sustainability so we could begin to understand what was material in terms of our operations. Where were we making impacts that we could turn around, reduce our carbon footprint, and we started to measure those things. We then next set out to measure some of those reductions in paper consumption and energy consumption. Again, we worked with a consultant to do that. I did want to share as well that a very helpful resource during this time was the UN Global Compact. We're going to be hearing more about that over the next 2 days. But basically, this is a voluntary initiative established by the United Nations to help businesses around the world operate in a socially responsible and sustainable way. Together, the UN Global Compact and, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals were our North Star as we move forward. So I would recommend to credit unions, identify those people on your staff that are super passionate about sustainability, every dimension of sustainability, and get them involved in your process, get them involved in your journey. Of course, they're going to need an executive sponsor, someone that can provide that support, ideally in the C-suite, and also someone that can shore up resources and budget for them. At UNFCU, there are 2 executive sponsors in addition to myself, my colleague Prasad Sarapani, Agnone, our Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer, also serves as an executive sponsor. Yeah, that would be my advice for credit unions that are starting out. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam and John. I think as we, talk about why it's important to our members, we've talked about embedding it in our DNA. Lest we make it sound easy, let's talk about challenges. I think we often come to you and say, what about taking this next step in ESG? What about taking this next step in the business? I'd love to hear from your perspectives as credit union leadership. What does it feel like to sit on that side of the table in terms of the challenges that this may pose as the credit union steps more and more into this field? Either one take that question?
Sure. You can start. Thinking about challenges, one of the things that came to mind for me is recognizing that senior leaders in credit unions are super busy people, right? They got big day jobs. And so as we started out, I don't want to say it was a challenge or a hurdle, but something we needed to really focus on was getting our senior leadership team together, understanding what it was we were about to undertake, helping them understand just how strong our commitment to sustainability was. I will tell you, that took a little wrangling in the beginning, but as far as getting their commitment and their backing behind the effort, that was no challenge at all. I'd also tell you that there was a learning curve as we're trying to get everybody fluent in the language of sustainability, myself included. And so under Yma's direction, our global impact and inclusion teams work to provide executive sponsor briefings. They organize trainings for the senior leadership team so that we all understand what it is and we can speak that language together so we can communicate and move forward.
I would say that kind of one internal, one external challenge. Let's start with the external challenge. There's no surprise here to you all. This is facing some headwinds, right? So in general, sustainability, DEIB, things we're talking about today, they're facing some headwinds out there. A few years ago, certainly on the DEIB side, I think we were fortunate to have the tailwinds. So we just have to recognize that it ain't easy, and it's not going to be easy, and it could even get harder, but that doesn't mean we don't do it. But also don't be surprised by it. Don't be surprised by potentially getting some headwinds, whether it's with a member, whether it's with a trade organization, whether it's with anybody, the regulator. There could be headwinds. So that. And then kind of, it's both the challenge and the opportunity to take off, what Pam was saying a little bit is we run highly regulated financial institutions. We have a lot of money that people rely on us to keep safe and to deploy. People rely on us for their loans and their credit cards. Like, it's a big darn deal. We do a lot of stuff, okay? What we don't do is, we don't launch a product and service by saying, hey, everybody, let's have a lunch and learn and talk about a launch of a product and service, right? We don't do that. We have a plan, right? We have a communications plan. We have a resource plan. We have a Gantt chart, a project plan. We have a risk assessment. We do these things in a very systematic business way. So if you want to do this in a very systematic business way. Take the stuff you do really well and apply it to this. Now, of course, we understand that, as Pam was saying, there could be resource constraints, both on the financial side, both on the time side. There are constraints, but that's okay. Just don't, set your heights at a reasonable place where you can attain, put your business plan together, do your gap analysis, and figure out how to get from A to B. And so my advice is we're really good at certain things. So let's take those things we're really good at and apply it to this, and I'm using the air quotes, this problem of launching, keeping momentum and sustainability. So for me, it's, yeah.
And thank you both for just noting the importance of really weaving this, not then just on what we call the would-be nice side of the work, but it's also in the business side of the work, which is really where the rubber meets the road. It's really important for us to be able to do that as well. Thank you for that. So as we wrap up, we're launching 2 exciting days of discussion and learning. If you would just share with us 2 things that come top of mind that you can share with the audience as we head into this incredible, important dialogue.
Sure, I'll start. The first thing that I thought about was just, in general, credit unions have such a tremendous positive impact to their members and to the communities in which they work. I'm feeling really excited that through the collaboration at the UIS Summit, we are going to come together, and our collective impact as a credit union movement will help move sustainability in a much faster way. In fact, I have a vision that someday credit unions are going to be the leaders across all of financial services in practicing sustainability and just and making positive impact for people and for planet. My second thought is there are so many experts we're going to hear from over today and tomorrow, and they're going to be sharing so many insights, so many learnings. For me, I just want to be able to capture it all, bring it back, collaborate with Yma and the team, and be able to use what I learn as far as furthering our program as well. Thank you.
Look, we got 2 days, and looking at the agenda and the speaker list, I mean, there's some very, very impressive, smart people here who are doing this stuff. And then we've got all areas of the spectrum as far as the sustainability journey, right? We may have cranes that are just starting. We have cranes that are a little further along, and everybody in the middle. And what I would just say here today and tomorrow and at the reception if you're attending is, talk to people. Network. The relationships that we make here can be several-fold of value going forward. I mean, I look around the room and I see folks who I've made relationships with either at past sustainability conferences or a WOCU conference, for example, things like that. And these relationships, they stay with you, and you can leverage them. I mean, they leverage you, you leverage them. It's part of this the collaboration, if you will. So I'd be very purposeful in that. There's nothing wrong with being purposeful in leveraging relationships and collaborations, and I see my friend Carlos over here as well. Hi. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. I think this has been incredibly helpful. It's really, really important to kind of hear the perspective of our leadership as they guide us. And so thank you so much. I want to thank you so much for all the work that you're doing and for being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And exit left. Exit left.